Thank you so much and welcome to another interesting edition of our current affairs program, Issues of the Moment. Issues of the Moment is a current affairs program of Living World, Living TV Film Academy here in Aba, the commercial capital of Southeast Nigeria. And on today's edition of Issues of the Moment, we are also going to talk about politics. And today we are going to take a look at party politics and carpet crossing in Nigerian politics. This issue has become a very topical one. If you remember that we have less than 2 years to another election year. Defecting from one political party to another by politicians in Nigeria started after the first general election in 1959. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe had the ambition of becoming the premier of the defunct Western region. His hope was dashed when some members of his party NCNC in the Western House of Assembly crossed the carpet to Action Party AG and gave Chief Obafemi Awolowo the political crown. Defection of politicians from one party to another has become a permanent feature of politics in Nigeria. It has been described as chop-chop politics and is the only kind of politics the political class in Nigeria play and practice. For instance, in 1979, 5 political parties contested for various positions at the federal and state levels. After that very election, NPN, then NPN, National Party of Nigeria, damaged and destroyed other political parties in 1983 when another election was held. Nigeria was almost forced to become a one-party state, which it did not bargain for. That's the background information concerning the topic we are going to talk about today or discuss. And I'm privileged to have in our studio this morning 2 legal practitioners who are going to discuss this very national burning issue. Sitting on my left is St. Moses Ogbonna. St. Moses Ogbonna is an Aba-based legal practitioner. St. Ogbonna, welcome to Issues of the Moment.
Thank you very much. Welcome, viewers.
I also have another lawyer in the house. He is Mr. Chidi Ozo Azubike. He also based in Aba here. Mr. Azubike, welcome to the program.
Thank you, moderator, and welcome, viewers.
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, this program is coming to you live from the studios of Living TV Film Academy here in Aba. Mr. Azubike, let me start with you. Talking about carpet crossing or defection from one party to another, which I said has become a permanent feature of our politics, what do you think has been the damage it has done to politics in Nigeria?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First of all, the word carpet crossing was not used by our constitution. I think it is a journalistic expression. You know that parties in Nigeria as of now, people wanting to contest election must do so from the platform of a political party. As at now, there is no provision for independent candidacy. So when people move from one party to the other, and they don't follow the procedures that is contemplated by the extant law, by our constitution, the first victim of such act is that our constitution is violated. Our law, damages is done to our law, and that is the greatest negative impact you can have in any society. When your law is met, when somebody hits or infringes upon the provisions of the law. The law is very clear on circumstances under which a person may move from one political party to the other. But the manner and the way it's being done in Nigeria has not presented conformity with the provisions of our law. So the law suffers. Again, parties, it creates crisis between parties because once the things fall apart, center cannot hold. For instance, we have somebody who is an executive governor, leaves a party. The problem we have seen now is that most people begin to ally with governor that had defected or against the governor. And of course, the natural thing is the polity is heated, and in such heated polity, nothing good comes out. It's an ill wind. So it affects our constitution and it hits the political party below the belt. Let me just say that for now.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we proceed, I want to announce that this is an audience participation program. We have in our studio this morning students of Living TV Academy. At a point in time, we are going to give them an opportunity to ask any relevant question concerning the subject we are discussing. Now, Sengosi Sobona, when you look at politics in Nigeria, they cross from one party to another. You are familiar with it. So can it be said that politics in Nigeria is all about selfish interest and not a call to service?
Well, I wouldn't say politics in Nigeria is about selfish interest. But I would rather say that some politicians put themselves before the interest of the masses. It is about the selfish politicians who are bound in other political parties or one political party or the other that makes it appear as if politics in Nigeria is all about selfish interests. You see, when we talk about carpet crossing, like we say, this journalistic language, the Constitution is very clear about it. Any member of the party is a member when he is registered in a political party as a member. We call them card-carrying members. Once you are a card-carrying member, you are privileged to have every right that the Constitution or the Constitution of that party gives to the member who is a card-carrying person. And the Constitution also gives a condition for which a person can leave his party and join another party. One of those conditions is when you resign from that party, you are free to join another party. Or when that party is at crisis, you no longer need to resign. Just follow that party. Because there is a crisis of what we call factions, where one group emerges outside the official group or claiming to be the official body elected executive of that party with followers. In such situation, a person can leave his party and join another party, given the reason for the crisis. Another one is that when you are elected in one party, you are not supposed to leave that party, except when you are sacked by that party, or there is a crisis, or you resign. And because there is no room for independent candidate, you cannot be alone. When you resign from that party and join another party, the Constitution requires you to drop every position you have acquired because you are a member of that party. If, for instance, if you are a governor or you are a member of a House of Assembly or House of Representatives or Senate or chairman of a council, and you resign from the party that gives you that position, and you join another party, you abandon the position. You will no longer be either a member of House of Assembly, Representative, Senate, or governor when you leave that party, because the vote is not given to you. It is the party that is voted. And the position you are occupying is that of the party and not that of you. So if you abandon the party and you leave the party, you leave that position. So, but right now in Nigeria, the question is it so? Are people leaving their party for another party because of crisis? Are they leaving their party for another party because they resigned and they dropped? When they leave, do they drop the position? When we ask you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Uzazubike, so Moses talk about the position of the law when talking about leaving one party for another. He said that if you are a federal lawmaker or a state lawmaker, once you dump your political party, you automatically lose your seat in parliament. Why is it that a governor will leave the party, a state lawmaker will leave the party, a federal lawmaker will leave the party, and yet he will not lose his seat? What is happening?
Yes, under section 60, subsection 1, section 109, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution, which is the ground norm, the basement, the source through which every action, authority flows in Nigeria. That provision of the law relates to legislators, whether in House of Assembly of the state or in House of Rep or Senate, federal legislation, or federal legislature. If any person wishes to cross carpet, once you leave that party, except where there is crisis, or as my colleague have mentioned here, he has mentioned such instances. Another instance I want to add here is if a political party for any reason decide to divide and answer different names, or wants to or decide to amalgamate or integrate with other parties, as we saw in the last time when AC and other parties came together, NPP, to form the present APC. Once such situation occurs, an elected legislator can decide to leave the party, or where there is crisis, as he mentioned. Where there is no crisis, there is no law that permits a legislature to cross carpet. In fact, what the law provides is that the speaker should immediately declare his seat vacant. It's not even that the person should, whether he resigns or he doesn't resign, the moment the speaker of the House or the Senate president or the Speaker of House of Representatives sees that such situation has occurred, the Constitution gives him the power to declare the seat of that elected person vacant, so that another election can be conducted. But unfortunately, what we find out is that most people who cross carpet, most of the time, they cross carpet from the parties that do not have majority in the House to the parties that enjoy majority status in the Senate or the House of Rep or the House. And most of the time, sentiment comes into it. You see the Speaker, the Senate President, no matter what you do, will try to, treat the matter with kid's glove, because he has interest. He has a political interest to protect. Ordinarily, the matters like this have gone to court, and the courts have not, wasted time in declaring such action null and void, and declaring that their seats are vacant. But unfortunately, many people don't have the political will to challenge these actions in the court of law. Like recent ones that we have seen that have happened, there is simply no crisis in any party. There is none of those exceptions that the law provides existed before a governor, one of the governors in Southeast, for instance, decided to cross carpet to another party. And it also happened in South. There is no way they can explain their way, even though this provision, the Constitution does not seem to make provision as concerning the executive arm of government. But you see that when governor leaves, automatically the elected members want to gravitate along the line of governor's political interest, so as to fan the embers, try to protect their political interest in the future. So that's what I have to say. The law does not support what they are doing. That's why I say the law is the first victim of what is happening. And if it's challenged in the law court, I assure you that it will not, the actions will fail and be declared null and void by the courts of law.
Thank you for that wonderful explanation. Now, Semposi Sobona, can it be said that political office holders in Nigeria are above the law when you consider that they don't lose their seats after dumping the party that gave them the platform? Are they above the law? You are a politician.
They are not above the law. They seem to be seen as being above the law. You see, a situation, there is a conspiracy against the law. The procedures are not, the laws are not respected by the custodians, the people who are supposed to protect this law. Do not look at the law as, that's why it is every day. You go on the street, you see people running, signing, using signing, moving against it. Why? Because he is the custodian of the law. He's a policeman. He may be an army person because he holds power. He believes that he can now behave anyhow, treat the law the way he feels, according to his own whims and caprices. You see, if we have a Senate or a National Assembly that has not, the moment you have voted into the National Assembly, you are now seen as one who makes the law that will be obeyed. And you are no longer there representing your party, representing the whims of your party, representing the leadership of your party, that whatever they ask you to do is now seen to be the law. If we have such a house, or such a Senate, or such a National Assembly, that is where these laws will be obeyed. I thought you were going to ask me whether laws in Nigeria is seen to be obeyed only by the commoners and not by the bourgeois, who now occupy the position of power and dictate not according to the rule of law, but according to their own interest. You see, when a person, a governor, cross carpets to another party, the Constitution says that the position he occupies is that of the party and not that of himself. And in absence, the owners of that position are the party and not him. And there are two persons there, the governor and the deputy. And the Constitution says, in absence of the governor, now the deputy. If a governor leaves the party, the seat is now not vacant. It now behoves on the party to see their deputy as now occupying the position
of the governor. Is that possible in Nigeria?
Because it has not been tested. You see, law sleeps. It is the lawyers, the social engineers. It is the people that goes to test the law and wake it up. It has not happened. If it happens, we now look at the law. The Supreme Court will now look at the law. When the governor leaves the party and join another party, has he carried with him the governorship, the seat of the governor? Does he carry it along? If he does not carry it along, it now means that the governor the party knows is the deputy. The governor should go to, the party should go to court to claim their position because the governor has left. The person remaining is the deputy, and that deputy is the person they now recognize as their governor. We test it. When we test it, we now see whether when the governor leaves the party, we should now begin to checkmate this incessant, reckless cross-carpeting by people that are considered by the party, and the party trusted and gave them power to defend the constitution of the party. You now leave. Because when you leave, nothing happens. That's why they leave. You ask that person when it is possible. But if they leave, and somebody challenges this and says, deputy, stay back, we now know you as our governor. Swear him in as the governor, and they refuse, we go to court and challenge this outcome, and we see what the correct interpretation will be.
Okay, thank you very much, Sembosi Sobona. At this point, we are going to take a break. And when we come back, we will continue with the rest of the program. On today's edition of Issues of the Moment, we are discussing party politics and carpet crossing in Nigerian politics. Stay tuned. Back to the program. This is Issues of the Moment, and we are discussing party politics and carpet crossing in Nigerian politics. As we have my two guests in the house, Moses Ogona and Mr. Chidi Ozuazubike, at this juncture, I would like to give an opportunity to our students to ask any question they may consider necessary or make a contribution. And before you ask any question, please identify yourself properly and your department.
My name is Sean Michael. I'm a student of the University Academy for the Department of Film and Multimedia Studies. And my question is there any specification of consequence in accordance to the Nigerian Constitution of one who violates the rule of law or what the law stipulates on matters of proscribed? What consequences should one face? One who proscribed without either by having crisis from the party which he was previously in or by resignation. If he does so, what are the consequences in accordance with the law?
Okay, thank you very much. So Moses Ogona, I would like to answer that question.
Yeah, you see.
And you heard him very well.
Yes, I heard him. That is what I'm saying. The consequences are very obvious. He is supposed to vacate the seat. The Speaker of the House, if it's from the House of Representatives, or the President of the Senate, ought to declare that seat vacant. And the party from which he vacates the seat will now be called upon to nominate. There will be a by-election where that seat will be filled. The same thing ought to happen when the governor, without the conditions stipulated by the Constitution, decides to abandon his party and cross-carpet to another party, he ought also, that's his seat, ought to be declared vacant. When it is declared vacant, his own is that he has a deputy that the Constitution says, in absence of this man, either by death or by him going on vacation. You remember when he goes on vacation, he ought to hand over to his deputy. Or by cross-carpeting. That means him as the governor ought to be declared vacant. Why the deputy will now take over as the governor? Because the seat is occupied. It's not his own. It's not that of the other party, because an election has been conducted and there was a contest between party A and party B, and the party A or party B won. Having won, that seat belongs to them until the tenure of 4 years elapses. It does not lie on the governor, the present occupant of the city, to just abandon that, or the other party will lay in this party on the highway and they grab that seat without an election. When there is a party that won and they has the seat, if you are leaving, there is a deputy of this party that ought to take over, and not the man who left. And until we test this and see the interpretation that ought to be given by the Supreme Court, we will continue having a president one day abandoning his party for another party. Governor will abandon and go. Chairman of the council will abandon and go. And when they go, and do you know what happens now? The party they go into, because they are the majority party, or probably they occupy the head of the national power.
They are the ruling party.
The ruling party. They now begin to instigate, lure them, threaten them, go behind to show them their skeleton. Say, this your skeleton is becoming larger than the cupboard. If you don't cross over, we will do this to you.
Okay, I think you have made your point. Any other question from the students? Okay.
Thank you. My name is Chris. I'm on the wrong end. So I have a question. The one for Barrister Azubuike. Because he said something around political will, that police information of no information is not the execution of the education from policies is also another thing. So I would like to ask this question because I know that it's a council as a lawyer. What is the responsibilities of our lawyers in things like this? When we talk about lack of political will to prosecute things or follow up on things like this, does it always fall on the shoulders of the corporate person to get lawyers paid to go after things like this, or can we qualify citizens from different countries who are those to be lawyer and take actions against things which is illegalities against the extent of our constitution?
Okay.
The question is to St. Moses. And St. Moses, when he started speaking, he says something as if that when the people vote, that they vote for the political party, not for the individual. Therefore, when individuals move from one party to the other, apart from raising those very powers that they can get such positions. So I was thinking that we be under a democracy. Yes,
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Subike, you had it. Okay.
First of all, let me make a little comment concerning what my colleague said. I am happy he used the word ought to. In expressions or in law, we say that words are sacred. He said ought to, and he rightly used the word ought to, because our law did not make that provision that when a governor cross carpets, that the deputy governor should take over. But he said that's what it ought to be, because what is good for the goods is also good for the gander. If it applied to legislative, it ought to, but the law so far has not said the office of a governor should be declared vacant if he leaves. And that is why we have this crisis, except it's tested in law. And if you go to courts, I'm afraid the courts cannot go contrary to specific provisions of the law. So we will wish what he has said will be the situation. But unfortunately, if a governor leaves a political party, his seat is not declared vacant. But if it's a legislative office, his seat ought to be declared vacant automatically, without any, it doesn't require any application, it doesn't require any, the Senate President, if he's a senator, the Speaker of House of Representatives, if he's a member of the National Assembly, the Speaker of House of Assembly of the state should automatically declare that seat vacant. But that automatism does not apply to governor.
Okay,
now,
in effect, you are saying that the Constitution is only interested in the federal and state lawmakers.
So far.
And not the governors.
It has not, just like you have the issue of immunity that applies to the governor and the deputy governor, and then to the president and vice president. It does not apply to Senate president. He has no immunity, and other political officers. So and what we do in law is to interpret the law as it is. But he said that's what it ought to be, and I agree with him. That's what it ought to be. Now, on the question that he asked on when a person cross carpets, there's what we call the principle of local standard in law. Nobody should be a busybody. You know, you can't just wake up and go there now. Like I'm in Abia State. I'm not from Cross River State. I cannot go to Cross River State now and begin to file an action against the governor. It must be. That's why my colleague was talking about the political party. The election is for both the political party and the candidate. They are both. They go coterminous. They are all important. The political party alone cannot stand. Neither can the candidate alone stand, because there is no independent candidacy in our law for now. So both of them are important. When the governor goes, the political party stays. So when he cross carpets, the deputy governor is not bound to follow him. And you can't go, it's only the people who are stakeholders. If you're a member of the party, if you are a leader in a political party, you can go to court. But if you don't have any interest, any vested interest that is cognizant, that the law recognizes, if you go to court, except it is an issue that it affects the public as a whole, and you are an NGO, the court may consider you as having a local standard. Otherwise, if you just jump in and you, like I'm not a politician, if I go there, the court will ask me, what interest do you have about tourism? They will ask you, are you from this state? I will say, no, are you from, then what interest? So those who are stakeholders ought to take the bull by the horn, by challenging this thing. And let us see whether what my colleague said can be interpreted by the court. But so far, it's only the legislative arm that are affected by consequences of cross-carpeting. That is how the law is for now.
Okay, thank you very much. As Moses Ogona, he requested that you should answer the second question, and that is the consequences of jumping ship.
Yes, I think when he is having a little problem, is when you live as a political, as an individual, in their house. The party was beckoned by the Constitution to proceed for an election, not individuals. There's no individual in this country that the Constitution beckoned upon to come and contest for any of these seats. It is the political parties. That is why it is said that the party's decision is supreme. It is the party that says, okay, this position that is given to me, come and represent me. And for all purposes, you have to represent that party within this specified tenure given by the Constitution. Now, when you abandon it mid-ship, it means the party that is given 4 years to run has been robbed of their 4 years. Because the 4 years, you remember when Yar'Adua suddenly died. There was no election for the position of Yar'Adua to be taken. Like he said, that was when Supreme Court brought out what they call principle of necessity. Because what has not been specified by the Constitution, and at the time the Constitution was written, it was not contemplated that this situation will occur. Now that it has occurred, the Constitution itself gave the law, the court, power. That's why it is said that the law is what the court says and does, and nothing more pretentious. Where there is a lacuna in the Constitution, and what is happening was not contemplated by the writers of the Constitution at the time the Constitution was written. And that lacuna is about to destroy the norms of the people, the rights of the people. The court is given the power to begin to read into what has been written, and begin to interpret and flow what is in the Senate and the National Assembly, and reading that lacuna to fill it, so that the injustice that will be perpetrated on the people, the right of the people that will be denied, will be protected. So, what to his question? The individuals are responsible by the people that voted them, and not the people that voted them being responsible to them. There is an incident that just occurred last week, about 15 days now. A member of House of Representatives that was doing his ceremonies, like they normally do. They bring out a lot of items for the constituents to share to the constituents. They call it their constitution. What's the constituency project is part of it. And this man made his announcement, gathered the whole world to come. He displayed the items, and the constituents answered him in great numbers, hoping to cut away the gifts that he was going to give to them. At the end of the occasion, none of those items were given. He packed them back into his house. The question is, are those gifts his own? Is there any obligation? Does he owe? Is there any duty for him to distribute those goods to the constituency he has invited and has come? The very constituency that voted him in and made him their representatives. If he refuses to distribute those items, is there any duty and obligation that he is denying these people? Those are the questions we are going to rattle. This same thing happens to the same man who abandoned his party midstream over a vote given to him by the party, asking him by the party to go and represent them for 4 years, and the midstream, he abandons the party, cut away the representation he was voted to give, cut away the duty that is bestowed upon him to give to the party, and join another party that lost. We are saying, should the constitution die and say, no, he is the person that is voted, he should do whatever he likes with the vote that is given to him? Or should the party say, no, this man bring out back our mandate, or as we are leaving, we have to vote another person and put him in. In fact, there shouldn't be another vote. It should be the party that should do a primary and put that person there.
Okay, you have said a lot as far as this issue is concerned. Now, Mr. Azubike, we are approaching another election year, and naturally, politicians are crossing from one party to another. With this in mind, is it possible to build a political party in Nigeria with the intention of promoting economic and social development? Is it possible?
My friend, Mr. Moderator, that our democratic system, every day they say is evolving, and I don't know when the evolution will manifest. The truth remains that most of the time politicians play the tune as it suits their myopic interest. With this development, because the present republic has witnessed more cost-carpeting than any other, if I have known. We have seen situations where governors will move and almost all the legislators will join them, and it's really, it presents a monumental, nuisance.
And nothing will happen.
Yes. Because what they ought to do is that the legislature ought to make that lacuna that exists there. They should make law to make this principle applicable also to the executive. Because so far, the law is a little silent when it comes to, because it's not a recurring decimal as far as a democratic system is, except recently. So what will happen is that if somebody becomes a governor, a president, he will use his machinery to push and intimidate and pull the strings so that those other governors, if they want loan from outside bodies, they will say they will not approve it because the federal government must approve before you can collect any loan outside the country. They will not give you. That was why Governor Mbakwe was called the crying governor, because he will go to the president and ask them to approve the money, the fund that have been released to him to build the state, and they will not. That he will be crying and be raising alarm, and they say he's crying. So what they do is to make things difficult, make the whole atmosphere ungovernable for the governor until he cross carpets. So the law should be made that when a governor cross carpets, that it should be added, because so far it is not there. When he dies, when he is on leave and cannot perform, they should now add there that when he cross carpet. But for now, it's not part of the list of exception when deputy governor can take over. So what will happen is that the deputy governor can go to court and seek redress. But if he doesn't want to follow the governor, then two of them should be ruling from different parties, and that's the topsy of it. That's the confusion that I was saying, that political parties are suffering because the legislators, all of them, is a state of chaos, in all honesty. That's why the law should be made.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Azubike. And I'm afraid this is where we are going to draw the curtain. As far as today's edition of Issues of the Moment is concerned, we have been discussing party politics and cross-carpeting as far as Nigerian politics is concerned. And I want to thank my two resource persons who did justice to this very topic, Sir Moses Obona and Mr. Chidoza Azubike. Gentlemen, Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I also want to thank students of Living TV Film Academy here in Aba who also participated in today's edition of Issues of the Moment. Thank you very much. My name is Chimezie Ozems. Join us next week for another interesting edition of the program.